So, folks, here we are again. Episode 1 of the Celtic Soul podcast. I had Joe Miller on, or Average Joe Miller, as he's known around the upper class drinking establishments of Glasgow, i.e. McCool's. And we have now on the first of what we haven't really got a name for it, but what we might call it the Celtic Daz, as a bit of rebellion against all you young podcasters out there. So us old boys we're striking back. Joe, so there you go, Joe. You're very welcome to the Celtic Daz.
Good to see you again, Andrew. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, Joe, it's been great looking at you during lockdown on your world tour of beers.
I kind of like to explore a wee bit, but we've got a campaign on against Guinness just now because when we get cans of Guinness over here, it doesn't fill your pint glass. It's $4.40. So, like, you guys get cans of Guinness over there that fills your pint glass. We don't. So
yeah. Well, you know, these are.
I just want to plug that. There's a campaign going on with my good friends at Guinness.
These are our first world problems, Joe.
I know. I might send some muscle down to Dublin and see if we can sort them out. Do you know anybody?
Oh, I wouldn't know anyone that moving in certain kinds of circles. Joe, I love your T-shirt.
Thanks very much. It's the Pearl of Glasgow.
Some beautiful colours in it.
Yeah, rainbow colours. Yeah, St. Pauli are doing well. 8th in the league just now. For kind of the usual St. Pauli, good start, really slumped in the middle, but absolutely flying again. So, looking good, mate.
Yeah, it's great to see our good friends over in Hamburg doing well. Good anti-fascist club, anti-racism. Joe, we've had racism in the news constantly these days. Kamara at Rangers, that guy got a 10-match ban, and Kamara got a 3-match ban for his reaction.
Was it for his reaction, or was it not for? Was there not the guy attacked inside underneath the tunnel and all that?
Oh, maybe you're right, Joe, and maybe I'm wrong.
I think I've not read up. I knew it came out just now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I hopefully know that I believe he's come out and thanked the Celtic support. Well, his solicitor was on today saying that, you know, it united football fans, no matter what team they're from, and rightly so. But hopefully now this will be the start of Rangers getting their house in order, or Sevco, or whatever we call them now, because they have huge internal problems when it comes to racism within their support.
Well, everybody agrees it's against racism. It's ridiculous, and everybody supports the player there and what happened to him. But it's quite rich coming from the mouthpieces of a lot of Rangers. You know, it's we totally avoid the question of sectarianism and all the rest of it. But I'm not going to take that away from what happened to the guy. It was still ridiculous. It happens too often in football. It's not the first case. It won't be the last case. And the authorities still don't take any action on it, really. Match bans for the players, that's not good enough. It really isn't. A few match bans, that's nothing.
Yeah, and then he'll probably appeal it as well. And then after the Euros, because it's an international ban, he can still play domestically, I believe. And he'll probably appeal it. And then after the Euros, he'll take his ban for a couple of games, you know.
Yeah.
Something like the COVID carry on.
Yeah, everything has to be addressed. McLean, does his name get mentioned when all these things are brought up? The abuse he gets playing football? No, it's never linked in. It's never linked in as a story and go, right, well, there's something happening here. Well, here's something happening with this player in our own country with our own UK players or UK-based players, whatever, UK football clubs. But nothing is getting addressed with the abuse he's getting. And it's not any different. Now, what's his face that used to play with Rangers, Broadfoot, got a massive ban for sectarian abuse against James McLean. And it was reported as if it was nothing. But it was a massive ban he got. But that's under the carpet. It's not really. Everything should be called out. I'm for everything getting called out if it's out of order. You can't just pick one thing and go, yeah, that's the one I'm happy with, but I'm not really bothered about the rest of them. It's not the way the world should work.
Yeah, and Joe, it's funny you should bring up McLean because he's in our thoughts and our minds the whole time when we do speak about racism and sectarianism and anti-Irish, the anti-Irish brigade throughout Britain.
Yeah.
But it's funny, it was Peter Hooton from the farm when he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he brought up the treatment McLean gets. He brought up the whole poppy thing, and like because he's wrote the song all together now.
Yeah,
and he explained what the song was about, and went deep into the poppy, and gave a great account of someone who's been brought up in England, and it was great to hear. It was so refreshing to hear him come out and speak up for McLean when we're talking about racism and sectarianism in football, and it was him that brought it up, which was great.
Yeah.
So
and the treatment. Now, we have spoke about it many times about not just people in public life. Now, myself and you and I have spoke about this just in our normal life, my background, and it's kind of acceptable sectarianism, especially anti-Irish as well. It's kind of acceptable, and it's not to be addressed, it's not to be spoken about, but it should be, because all these things link in with each other. They're all the same to me. It's abusers are getting away with it, and that's it.
And we've had it at the highest this week with the death of Philip.
Philip who?
What?
Philip who? Who's dead?
Well, Philip Windsor, or whatever he's called, the Mountbatten.
God's sake, you think that would have been on the news?
Yeah, Joe, you would, wouldn't you? But we've got now, I've seen the BBC playing down, every racist remark the man has made over his life, and they're playing it down as this funny joker man. This is a person
it's called speaking his mind.
Yeah, who I believe. No, I wouldn't be a follower of the Windsors or the Mountbattens or whatever they call themselves. But I was reading the piece. It was actually Paddy McMenamin sent it to me. It was from an Iranian journalist on Al Jazeera on their website, and he had written a piece about the BBC and how they were dealing with these comments that was made and playing them down. And one of the comments was he'd been to Africa, and he'd asked one of the tribe's women. I'm not sure, what tribe it was. I think it was in Kenya. And he'd asked one of the women, was she a woman?
Yeah, that's right. I've seen that.
And it's just kind of, and that's supposed to be funny. And then, you've got UEFA now on a kind of different ground, on a sporting ground, who, the Black Lives Matter, but they don't really matter because Big Mrs. matters for them. You've got a World Cup and guitar. I'm going on a rant now, Joe, but you've a World Cup and guitar where, hundreds of workers dying on the job. Dying to walk, basically, after being awarded this World Cup corruptly. And it's just, the whole world is just, it's tits up. Yeah.
Well, there's the thing with the Black Lives Matter as well, is there was a lot of Rangers fans really going against that. What the fuck is my club doing that for, and all the rest of it. And a lot of people were against that in the football sense. And they've totally jumped over to, racism is bad and we shouldn't, that guy is getting racially abused. But a few weeks before that, they were going, stop taking the knee. I just don't understand. I do understand, because they're just doing it, they're playing to it. They're not actually thinking about that guy as an individual and how he felt getting abused. They're just playing it. A lot of these fans.
Yeah, and like next week it'll be forgotten about, and it'll be back to, Zeke Owen and loads. And you see, but Joe, I wrote a piece I think last week. We have to look within our own support as well, because we have to have a grown up debate about calling people, or singing Orange Bastard at the games. I think, because if we're going to be calling people out, we need to look from within, because we've had, like, you know, a long time ago we had racist issues ourselves, but we got rid of them. And like,
Well, not quite so much got rid of them. It's only a few seasons ago we won the league up at Aberdeen, and we were, it's very difficult to get tickets for that. And I was standing there, and I only got one out of the group, so I just drove up myself and took one of my mates with us. He was standing over away from us at the time. And Logan got the ball, and a guy in front of me, an older guy, he wasn't a young guy, had the hoops on and everything, actually shouted, "You black bastard." And I reacted right away. I went, fucking gone for him. But what, just beside me, right away, the young team as well went for him. And the guy.
Well, that's positive, isn't it?
Yeah, but the guy bolted, double quick time. But that just shows you there is, and he felt quite safe shouting it at first. But obviously there was a reaction, and the young team followed him, rightly so. But I think he actually managed to go up to stewards and police. That's what he actually done and got away. But that's what he shouted, So I know we're not any moral ground to say we're better than somebody else. We do have them in our support. But thank God we react to it and pull them up for it.
Yeah, and it's great that the young team acted as well, Joe.
Yeah, of course.
Because we can be proud of some of the young team that's coming up.
As well, Andrew, if a guy turned back me, I'm a lover, not a fighter. So the young team would have had to have moved
Joe, you have the face of a lover enemy.
I love always having a bit of humour with you.
I told you we should have scripted this.
A serious issue straight into comedy.
Yeah, well, look, if anyone's wondering why my head is so red, I was out in the sun today, and I have a head like a beetroot.
And you can see I've still got my natural tan from Glasgow.
Yeah, Joe, you're beautiful baby face.
I'm sitting in dim light trying to make myself look better.
I thought it was a carbon cutout when I logged on first. But right, I will move on. We'll move the conversation on because obviously this is the first episode. We don't know where it's going to go. by now, everybody's switched off.
As long as we enjoy ourselves.
Anyway, Joe, right. So when we done, we're back doing Celtic AM as a virtual thing, and it was. I have to say, it was brilliant putting it together, and we've another one coming out on Saturday, Sunday. I don't know. We might put it out Saturday evening, and it was just the fun I had putting it together was great because especially when people were sending me the videos, because some of them were just, some people are great and they'll send the video, but other people will just send you one that you can't use. So the crack I had, and like. Daniel's who's doing the editing on the stuff, so he's here, and like just to even have someone close to have a bit of crack with, instead of just because everything's done online now because of these lockdowns, Yeah. But the thing that came out of that was when I was asking people for their favourite cup final memories or cup memories was giving Maggie Thatcher the red card.
Yeah.
And, I always thought that was a Not the View initiative. So, but it was yours. Did Not the View done it for a visit to Ibrox? Can you give us a bit of the story behind that?
Yeah, we did it first. Basically, the cup final one is based on what we did at Ibrox. Funny enough, there's a St Pauli connection in this. Jerry, who the editor of Not the View, he was actually over in Hamburg and went to a St Pauli game, and this was way back in early 80s and might even have been late 70s, knowing him. And he went to one of the guys, Big Rudy, who's a HSB, great, massive Celtic fan, took him to see St Pauli just to pass the time and have a bit of crack. And he said there was this big guy just shouting and bawling and pulled out a red card every time the ref done something, just one guy on his own. So obviously that stuck in Jerry's head. So when we were going to Ibrox, I think it was the 88 season, and we got to play Rangers, and they were getting players sent off every time they played us. So we ran a kind of bookies line in the magazine, who was going to get sent off first and all the rest of it, And then Jerry did this. He goes, I remember being back in Hamburg, this madman with a red card and kept shouting at ref. I think we should do it, put it in the issue. Yeah, definite. Let's go for it. And it was at Ibrox, and it was just, I see a red card, man. It was brilliant, And of course, they did get a player sent off, and even the moustache Souness looked over and gave a grin, It's, it was just like every decision, man. All you see was these red cards going up. It was absolutely genius. It was like before choreographed displays were done and all that. So it was just one of these genius ideas that was stuck in the back of his head for a previous engagement, So it was just so good, and everybody was talking about it. It was, you could see it was bits on TV, and it was in the news, sports reports and all that, and it was just a great talking point because it was so different from what we're used to now in football at games, what you see. And then that carried on. I think it was the trade unions and all that, because Maggie was there and all that, and then people were just doing it off their own back. Show Thatcher the red card. So we were obviously dead pleased with that as well. We thought, brilliant, that's getting carried on, especially against the Witch. So that was excellent.
Yeah, it's brilliant, Joe. I wasn't at that final. I've said it numerous times. If I could climb into a time machine, that's the one I'd love to go back to, because it just must have been just to give it to her, and like Rangers would have loved the opportunity to get a picture with her in the cup, No, it's them bloody Irish again going up and spoiling it for everybody.
Yeah, I know. It was just great. A bit of Scots-Irish rebel against Thatcher, It's just fantastic.
Paul Heaton remarks that, most of the north of England would have joined the Celtic fans that day and gave Maggie the red card.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's people with a bit of just natural goodness in their heart would do that, to a gold witch. It was this a publicity stunt for her that turned. She liked that kind of confrontation, but everybody talks about the red cards. They don't talk about her. It was just about the red card, really, and showing her one to tell her to get to.
Yeah. And here, back to that Ibrox game, was there any red cards in it?
There was, I'm trying to remember who it was, but there was a red card. I think it might have been, was it Nisbet? I need to look it up, Andrew, to be honest. I should have done my homework, but that's the kind of guys.
Yeah, but the reason why I didn't actually do any homework, because I just wanted this to be a chat and off the cuff.
It was off the cuff. Yeah, they definitely got something sent off, definitely, because I think that's when, and then later on, Souness came on as he was player manager at the time. So he came on. So I think that's when they gave the grin up to the whole Celtic fans, all going red cards, Genius idea, absolutely genius.
It was those red cards as red as my face.
It's
getting worse as I laugh.
The red card edition you've come out dressed up.
Oh, brilliant. Now listen, Joe, I was going to ask you to pick the team that's starting on Sunday, and to give us all the stats, and to get your board out and show us where all the people. We leave that to the experts.
That's not going to be us, mate.
Oh, that's definitely for sure. Right, so we've done the red card, and now we're going to move on to. I suppose we'll just move on to Sunday, Joe. It's massive. It's a massive game, isn't it?
It's bloody typical. When we're pretty shit, we get to play them in an early round of the cup, an earlier round in the cup. It always seems to be when we're shit. It's never when they're shit, and that's taking in both teams' carnations of them. So it's, but I enjoyed the game against Libby there. A lot of people say it's Libby, that could easily have been another fall for us, but I thought we played quite well. Definitely having James Forrest back gives us that width and stretches his team across, and it puts other players in their natural position. So I think he's quite vital to be fit against them. I hope he is. He doesn't really produce it against them a lot. It took him a while to even score against them. But I just think getting that shape will help us to go there. And obviously we played well in the last game and never got the result right enough. So we need to make that right. When we create chances, we need to put them in the back of the net. And I just think the shape of the team should be good if James is fit.
Yeah, with the exception of the first game, Joe, against them at Celtic Park this season, when we were terrible, like, we've been the better team for long periods in the games.
Yeah, I don't see. The thing is, see if you don't get the result, being the better team to me doesn't really matter, because you still need to win that game. They used to say that to us quite a bit as well. Oh, we played you off the park. Look at the score. At the end of the day, the score is what matters. So even that last game at Ibrox, when we should have won, they didn't even have a shot at goal. The goal they got was an OG. So they didn't even register one shot on target and still managed to win that game. So that's all that matters at the end of it. So, yeah, I want us to go in. Look, we can play shite and win it. I'm happy. I'd rather we play well and win. That makes me happier. So I don't really like we were better than you on the day. You're only better if you score the goals.
Yeah, and it won't watch, I suppose, Joe, this week because it's a cup game. No, and
yeah,
it's our last chance.
Yeah, I know. Can you imagine it now? See if you said that last season, going into this season, that your last chance of winning something and domestically is a Scottish Cup game. You wouldn't believe it, you know. You could maybe say a freak result in the League Cup, but no, that wasn't a freak result with a push. Didn't expect us to be this bad in the league, and now we're hanging on to a game now that kind of we're all in our hearts going, please win this. But there's no point in winning this one and then going out the next round. We need to be confident enough to go all the way and win it. That's, to me, is more important than just winning this game. Yeah, we need to win this game, of course we do, but we need to win the final. We need to get to the final and we need to win it. And these group of players haven't really... Sorry. These group of players...
Right, let's go.
These group of players haven't really produced and performed every week to do that. So that's a massive worry for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed the game on Saturday because as bad as it's been this season, you know, it's something to look forward to, even sitting watching it on your own. It's just because, you know, with nothing happening, Joe, with no gigs and, you know, no travel, no football, like, to sit down and then to watch them play well. And then the first comment I got off from the boys was, "Oh, but sure, it means nothing. I'm not going to go. Just give me 5 minutes to enjoy the result and the goals and the performance, you know." It's just, sure, it means nothing. And that's just...
I know, there was a lot of that, it's too late and all the rest of it. Well, I said to a few of my mates, we all do chats when the game's on. So I'm in various chats with a few supporters clubs and mates and that. So there's a lot of banter going about, which kind of helps when you're sitting, as you say, watching it yourself. And a few guys are going, it means nothing. And I went, well, it means something because the following week we've got a cup game and we really need to win that. And as I said just there, we need to take that forward to the next round and obviously final and win it and give something back to us poor buggers that have been sitting in the house watching this unfold all season. You know, behind cushions, behind bloody fingers, behind bottles of whiskey, everything, you know. Nothing could hide the pain.
Yeah, like there was started off, you know, we'll get a bit of form, you know. It's only one game.
Right.
And then we'll get a bit of form. And I finished off headbutting the wall.
Oh, you know? It was murder. Absolute murder. What a season.
Oh, it's fucking been a disaster, all right. And like it's been so sad. It's like that even to sit here and have a laugh about it is just, it's painful.
I know. Oh, look, see, we're laughing and it is because we know the misery, but
Oh, it's been shocking.
It's been an absolute disaster on and off the park. A wee bit of seriousness here, you. Total disaster of a season. Lessons need to be learned, but it's look, we need to start moving forward, and without going into all the new CEO and all the rest of it, and he has to be given an opportunity. I don't want to linger on it too much, but he has to be given an opportunity to stamp down what he wants to do. If Dermot Desmond says, no, I want it to go this way, well, the guy should walk and just say, well, it's not for me. If you want to do it, you do it then. You know, he has to come in with his own ideas and his own vision, and hopefully get a manager that does the same. Too much interference isn't good.
Oh, there's been so much like speculation of interference from the boardroom. And when David Lowe was in the podcast, and he's kind of an insight into boardrooms because he was there with Fergus, and he said, don't over listen to it, Joe, but he says, you know, Fergus wouldn't allow any of the suits to interfere with football matters. You know, and like he wouldn't want any of them now. Like, you know, accountants should do what accountants do.
Yeah.
You know, and marketing people should do, and football people should do what football people do.
Andrew, a while back, when we were really in the depths and all that, I tweeted something about the whole board, and then somebody said to me, "What, the whole board? What, the treasurer, this, that," and I went, "Yeah, the whole bloody board are accountable, because if the treasurer isn't doing their job, everybody on that board has something to say about it. So the treasurer should have something to say if things aren't going right. If you've got a board and you're on it, you should be able to speak freely and question everything that's going on. And our board isn't like that. It is basically just Dermot and Peter. That's basically it.
The final word, I think, is Dermot's. No matter, you know.
Yeah, and the final word is Dermot's. Of course it is. And that's not healthy. Then all the other board members are there just as kind of to make up a boardroom table. They'd be better having you and I there to at least once or maybe a couple of months just to go, no, you're talking pish, no, this is wrong. All right, you're going to do it, but I'm voicing my opinion.
That'd be some carry on.
I know. But that's the thing. This other guy, there's the ex-Labour guy. I just think, what the fuck is he on that board for? Because he doesn't seem to do it. Carrying glasses. Oh, his name escapes me. It's ridiculous.
Did he not write a book on us?
Aye, he did. Aye,
I know who you're on about.
Oh, God. Forgive me.
Just goes to show you the age we're at now, Joe. You know, we're just forgetting.
I know. We just go on to him.
Aye, him. Yeah, you know your man.
Aye, your man. But you need a strong board to question everything, even if you know that it is Dermot and it's Peter Law. That was so unhealthy that board can't question that they're doing in the direction it's going. That's what you have a board for, you know, is to question everything. And the treasurer should be questioning everything else as well.
Yeah, it's only when she's down, Joe. I sit down to write a piece on Peter Lawwell's time at Celtic, and as I was writing, you know, and the managers were coming in, I could see the interference that Matt O'Neill didn't have from Strachan coming in. When you look at some of the signings, you know, like nobody at the club knows why Thomas Gravenson was brought in. Nobody, you know. Roy Keane, you know, an injured, you know, player brought in that obviously Strachan didn't want. Paddy McCourt has said on a podcast that he was signed by. He was in talks, he'd lit up the League of Ireland. He was in talks with 2 English clubs, and somebody that he knew or knew his agent was a friend of Dermot's, and he contacted Dermot and he said, "Look, there's this boy Paddy McCourt. I think you should sign him." And Celtic signed him. And he says when he arrived on the training pitch for the first day that Gordon Strachan didn't know who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if Paddy's, massaging the story for the enjoyment of the podcast, or if that's true. But I know when he did arrive, that he wasn't fit for about 6 months. So so that was Strachan, and then the whole way through, then there seems to have been interference with players right up to Brendan leaving with that player, that fullback that went to Valencia. So there seems to be, and then obviously it went from, not only was there interference with the playing staff, there was interference with you couldn't bring in your coaching team. The coaching team was picked for you. The recruitment team was picked for you. So, I suppose we grew up with characters well, you're older than me, so you'd remember the late Jocks, the late part of Jock Steen, Billy at the club, and just managers now seem to be, they just this whole system. If this is the way it is, director of football, it's a coach. I always remember Pochettino coming out when he was talking to manager saying, no, that's nothing to do with me. I'm the coach. He was asked about players coming in or something, and he was gone shortly after that because obviously the hierarchy at Tottenham went, you can't do that. But he brings them to a Champions League final, and he finds himself out of a job because he speaks out about the recruitment. And I think that's just the way football seems to be gone, Joe. And that kind of needs to be addressed. If we're going to get a top manager in to bring the club forward, and a director of football that you can work with, well, as fans, I think we should know. We should be told by the club, look, this is the model. This is the long-term model. This is what we're going to do going forward. Because at the moment, I'm about to lose my bet on Eddie Howe every game John Kennedy's the
manager. Football's changed. We know that. The Jock and his team are Sean Fallon, Nearly Mockin, Jimmy Steele and Masur, all these names, and Benny Rooney and all that. All these guys were known to us as Celtic fans. They were that was a part of the team that made the team. So these were all figures that I kind of grew up with and knew off the heart. So, and then when you come to modern day football, I just don't understand how, as a football manager, you won't have your own staff there who you can rely on. Now, I can get the attitude of you can't bring everybody. You can bring who within reason, but managers tend to have the people they trust and people who they've had a bit of success with round about them. And this kind of director of football thing, who buys players in and kind of forces them on, and the manager doesn't know. Why would you be a manager of a team and have to put success on the park and for not any input on who you can put on the park? That managers should have, as you say, he spoke out. The guy spoke out, and then he got them to a cup final, spoke out, and then that's him gone. So I think more managers shouldn't just accept that this is the norm and this is the way it's got to be. They should stand up and go, well, no, you bought that player, I didn't buy that player. I didn't want that player, I'm not playing that player. Oh, well, if you don't play the player, you're off. Right, I'm off. Yeah. It's I don't want to hear the story after it all. I don't want to hear Brendan. Now, there is a story to be told there with Brendan Rodgers and why he left and all the rest of it. I don't want to hear it. I didn't want to. I know I've heard stories about it, but I don't want to hear it after that. That should have been told at the time.
Yeah.
What it was with
100%, Joe.
Yeah, and I still think he was wrong leaving us in the lurch, no matter what was going on behind the scenes. And if he did want to leave us at that time, he should have just come out and told us why. It was a ridiculous time he left us in the lurch. For a Celtic man to do that, a supposedly Celtic man to do that, no, that doesn't wash with me. He should have told us at the time, guys, sorry, I'm out of here because of. I don't want to read it in about next year or 2 years' time and get the full exclusive story of Celtic at that time. That's not good to us. We're there every week. We need to know that. I'd have more respect for him if he just come out and says, couldn't work with that, man. That was the final straw. That was me done. Fine. Yeah. I'd take that. Oh, I'd take that. No problem.
But it doesn't work like that, Joe, because he's going to have new employers, and if it doesn't work at Leicester, he's going to be looking for another employer, and that employer is going to say, well, I'm not hiring Brendan Rodgers because he's too outspoken and he's going to come out. They all cover their backs, Joe. They all look after number one. It's like the footballers. The kids queue up for an autograph or whatever,
Yeah.
You know, the days of the Tommy Bones and the Paul McStays are long gone.
Yeah, I know. Don't get me crying, mate.
Yeah, Joe, I won't get you crying because we always have a laugh. And I'll tell you, Joe, I'm missing our after games in McCool's, and
Oh,
who that game we play. Whose round is it anyway?
Oh, man.
sorry to anyone watching in, but it's Joe always avoids buying the first drink, and he always leaves before the last drink.
You always make sure I'm in the pub when you walk in, and that's how you go right.
I'd be standing around the corner waiting to see if you've gone in, and once you're standing at the bar, I pop up behind you.
I know, and Nicky's pissing himself laughing behind the bar because he knows you're just hanging about the corner.
But hey, I just happened in McCool's. Wasn't it great that they got the crowd funder, and you know we have a pub to go back to?
I know, it's brilliant, man. It's not just for us after the football. You know what it's like. They do a lot for the local charities round about, help people out. They've done stuff for refugees, book launches, and then gigs, all the rest of it. They've helped loads of people out, and it's not just a pub. It's, you know, as you know what pubs are like. They're local. It's my local. It's in the city centre, but it's my local.
Yeah.
It's got a heart in it, you know, and I think a lot of people dismiss pubs a lot and don't understand what it means to walk in. Yeah, you can be. There's times I just walk in and it's just a cracking feeling. You see somebody you're not seeing for ages, you get a blether, you catch up with their life and what's going on, and these places have got souls, whereas your Weatherspoons and all these ones are just are heartless, you know. It's just the sum up what modern society is, you know. To me, these Weatherspoons, you know, to a place like McCool's, you know, they've got souls.
McCool's is it's. I love it, you know, and like I remember when the first time I went into it, and it was by chance, and I couldn't believe that there was a pub full of Celtic supporters that liked the same music as me. It was brilliant. You know, because you know yourself, like a lot of the bars you're in, you listen to the ballads or the Rebs, but you know, McCool's you can be listening to anything.
Well, you know what McCool's is like. You get a bit of Celtic stuff, and for a bit before the game and a wee bit after it, and then you're bang into tunes, and you don't even notice it so much because you're just singing away, and you went from one era of music into the next, and it's just, I love it. Punk, soul, and disco dancing. It's brilliant.
Oh yeah, you know, I called the podcast after it. You know, Celtic soul.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, it's just one of them bars that I do miss, and I miss Nicky, and I used to go down in the mornings before he'd open for a cup of coffee and a chat.
Yeah.
And, if I was hanging around for lunchtime flight, and he'd be cleaning up after the night before and that. But we had a great chat, and he's just such a wise old man, and you know, such a cool old man, and a good listener, and can tell you some great stories about Glasgow over the years.
Yeah, your knowledge about things worldwide is amazing. It's great to just chew the fat with him. It really is.
Yeah, no, certainly missing McCool's. Joe, I think I'm going to leave it at that for our full Celtic dance. I don't know how long we spoke for. But I have to go and put my head in a bucket of cold water.
I thought you just got embarrassed because you went to buy a pint.
Oh, you know, I'll be hiding around that corner when I get back. Don't you worry, Joe. So I'll talk to you again then. On hopefully we'll get this Celtic Dad things going because I enjoyed the chat. It was a bit, you know. The next time I'll have to get some questions on rehearse maybe because you know because of your knowledge of the 4-4-2 and the 3-5-6 and the 3-1-8-7-9. The old pal Joe Miller. It's great. The average Joe Miller from Not the View, who has been around the block a couple of times. Good anti-fascist, good anti-racist, great football man, great friend. Not too fond of buying the first point, but folks, this will be our first thing of the weekend as we build up to the big Glasgow derby against the new club, and hopefully we get a result. We've Paul Heaton on the podcast tomorrow night, and then on either Saturday evening or Sunday morning, we've Celtic AM with Scott McDonald, Kieran Kenny, David Potter, a couple of friends like Joe, and I think that's it. Oh, myself, yeah, I'm on it as well. So thanks for tuning in, and if you want to come along to and give us your Celtic Dad stories, don't forget to send us an email or contact us through social media. It's a deadly. Thank you, Joe. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Andrew.